There's a scene in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind where Joel Barish, lying on an operating table, begins to feel his memories slipping, not just fading, but being actively erased. One moment he's with Clementine on a frozen lake, her bright hair aflame against the snow. The next, she's gone, replaced by static, by silence, by nothing. That moment is terrifying. But what makes it unbearable is this. He chose it. He wanted to forget her. And haven't we all? That one relationship, that trauma, that version of ourselves we can't bear to look at? We don't use brain tech like Lacuna Inc. We use distraction, reinvention, denial. We scroll until we're numb. We delete photos, we call it moving on. But here's the thing. Stoicism doesn't ask us to forget. It asks us to remember better, to remember with clarity, with perspective, with control. This is the story of how forgetting became our drug, and how remembering, when done right, could be the most stoic act of all. Let's talk about memory, not as nostalgia, but as emotional architecture. Every moment you've survived, the beautiful ones, the brutal ones, builds who you are. Joel and Clementine? They tried to bulldoze that architecture. They tried to demolish the pain by removing the blueprint altogether. But pain isn't the problem. Our resistance to pain is. In Stoicism, one of the most misunderstood ideas is apatheia, often mistranslated as not feeling. But apatheia isn't numbness. It's emotional discipline. It's not about suppressing sadness. It's about not being owned by it. Joel didn't understand that. So he outsourced his grief to a machine. A very modern choice, really. But as the memories begin to fade, Joel realizes the cost. The places he thought were safe, the whispers, the kitchen corners, the moments they laughed too loud, are being taken too. And suddenly, grief becomes gratitude. Loss becomes longing. He wants it all back, even the worst of it. That's when Stoicism kicks in. Not the textbook kind, but the hard, soul-level kind. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. But Joel hadn't realized it yet. Most of us haven't. Enter the Stoic idea of prosoche, attention. Not mindfulness in the Instagram sense, but radical inner attention. Prosoche means cultivating an awareness so sharp, so unshakable, that even in suffering, you remain intact. When Joel tries to hide Clementine in unrelated memories, childhood, humiliation, shame, he's doing the opposite of prosoche. He's frantically scrambling, distracting, running, trying to outpace the feeling. But you can't outrun what lives in you. You can only observe it. Imagine if, instead of fleeing from memory, Joel sat with it. Imagine if, like Epictetus said, he asked not, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "What part of this is mine to control?"
Prosoche is the skill of stopping the spiral,
of catching your thought before it mutates into despair. And it's trainable. Most of us live in emotional reaction mode. We break under things not because they're too heavy, but because we never learned how to lift. Clementine is chaos incarnate. She's unpredictable, impulsive, alive in the way people who don't edit themselves are. And she's miserable. But her misery isn't random. It's existential. It's identity-based. She changes her hair like she's trying to change her past. She wants intensity over intimacy, because intensity gives the illusion of progress. She says, "I'm just a fucked up girl who's looking for my own peace of mind. Don't assign me yours." A line so modern it hurts. Stoicism doesn't reject feeling, but it does reject the idea that feelings alone make us true. Clementine lives in the weather of her emotions. But the Stoics would ask, where is your climate? Clementine is the storm, Joel is the shelter. Neither is balanced. Both are ruled. Together, they mistake intensity for compatibility, like so many of us do. As Joel moves deeper into his subconscious, something changes. The scenes shift from polished to fragmented. The lighting grows erratic. Time folds in on itself. And here's where it gets beautifully stoic, because what Joel is experiencing is the reverse of ignorance. It's painful, yes, but it's confrontation. It's remembrance as transformation. The Stoics practiced a kind of preemptive meditation known as premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. They imagined the worst, not to panic, but to prepare. Joel is thrown into a similar exercise, only involuntarily. He relives arguments, regrets, the quiet cruelties, the failure to listen. And in that reliving, he gains something the Stoics valued above all: clarity. Clarity isn't the absence of pain, it's the precision of it. It's the ability to see suffering not as the end of a story, but as its most honest chapter. Here's a Stoic paradox. You're most free when you give up control over what was never yours. Joel wanted control over memory, but memories aren't static, they evolve. They warp, they echo. Stoicism doesn't say, control everything. It says, master the things that are up to you, and release the rest. That's the dichotomy of control, the emotional spine of Stoic practice. Joel had control over one thing: how he responded to pain. But he outsourced it, and in doing so, he outsourced his growth. The most radical Stoic idea is Amor Fati, the love of fate. Not tolerance, not resignation, love. Love what happened, because it happened. This isn't passive acceptance, it's the refusal to let bitterness write your story. At the end of Eternal Sunshine, Joel and Clementine meet again, memory wiped, but soul familiar. They learn what happened, they hear the tapes of their former selves, and they choose each other anyway. Okay? Okay. That's not denial, that's Amor Fati in action. They're saying, we'll do it again, even if it ends in tears. Because the beauty was real, the growth was real. Pain was not the enemy. Erasure was. In the modern world, we are addicted to forgetting. We unfollow, we ghost, we start over endlessly, hoping the new version of us won't carry the scars. But forgetting isn't healing, it's postponing. Stoicism invites us to remember with strength, to confront ourselves not as broken, but as in process. Because forgetting erases the symptoms, but remembering, when done with clarity and care, treats the cause. You've been Joel, so have I. We've all prayed to erase something, but maybe the thing you regret the most, the heartbreak, the failure, the moment you lost yourself, isn't something to delete. Maybe it's your origin story. And maybe pain, in the hands of a trained mind, becomes not a weight, but a forge. Because that's what Stoicism really is, not a cold dismissal of emotion, but a quiet discipline that says, let it burn, but let it burn you better. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind asked, what would happen if we could erase our pain? Stoicism answers, why would you want to? Because the truth is, you are not your best day. You are the way you respond to your worst ones. Don't seek a spotless mind. Seek a resilient one forged in memory, anchored in attention, guided by philosophy. This has been The Inner Thesis, where thought meets feeling, and forgetting becomes remembering, with purpose.